Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Rakakudash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the brothers in the highways and byways pushing this word in all sincerity and truth. The sisters, the believers, the helps. Shalom. This is the brother Ira from the James Jamaica camp, and just coming back with a very short lesson upon being temperate and dispassionate, right? And these two words are mainly me as when I was a younger brother, when I just given the truth and put it like that. I used to think that being dispassionate meant that you suppress your emotion, or you lock, you basically turn off your emotions, right? Or it's some form of perfect state of, like, it's like you're a robot, and when you make the decisions, right? So like, yeah, when you're making the decisions while being dispassionate and while being temperate, it means that you don't have any feeling toward it, or like you just make these decisions without feelings, right? And for quite a while, I always had that notion, right? So this list is just to help brothers realize that, look, being temperate and being dispassionate doesn't mean that it's not about being a tough guy. It's not to go, I don't feel it, or yeah, I don't cry, or no, that's not what it's about. It's not a tough guy thing. It's not a tough guy act. It is actually it's basically doing the right thing at the right time despite how you feel, right? So let me just go straight in the definitions, and I'll go in the scriptures. The first word that I'll go into is dispassionate, right? And it says not influenced by strong feeling, right? So it did not say having no feeling. It says not influenced by strong feeling, right? It says not affected by personal or emotional involvement, right? Which is basically not being a respecter of person, not having ulterior motives, right? So the whether or not you are somebody cool, when them right, when them wrong, right? Despite how you feel about them, or despite whether or not you in the situation. So even if you personally in a one situation, from it wrong, it just wrong. If it right, it right? So it doesn't really matter about how you feel about it, or whether or not you're involved about it, right? A common example that I like to use is the law states that if you smite your mother and your father, then or your father, then you shall surely be put to death, right? But also in the law it tells you that if you see anybody of a family basically worshiping unto an idol, your hand must be the first upon them, right? So basically you are going to throw the first stone. So when you look at it, it's all about discernment. It's all about knowing when to when to do this or when to do that, right? I'm going to pull some scriptures very shortly. Just gonna go through the definitions real quick, which also leads to being temperate. Now, just going straight to the second definition, it says marked by moderation, such as keeping or held within limits, not extreme or not excessive, right? So whenever you're being temperate, it means that if it's a situation that is supposed to show force, you don't show too much force, or you don't show too little force. If it's a case that you need to if it's a case that you're angry, then your anger not out of the not over the top, but then again you can but then again off a sulk, right? If you're happy, like your brothers will be there and you're having a drink and everything, mean, say you're gonna drink until you till you drop, right? But it doesn't really apply onto alcohol only. It really impacts everything in our daily lives, right? So let me just get some scriptures, and hopefully this is edifying thus far. Let me go to history. So the first precept I'll go to is 1 Peter 5 verse 8. Right, it says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. Right, and let's look up this word sober. Right, probably brothers going before, but can always go through it again.
Strong's G 3525. NAFO. NAFO.
Okay, so it says to be sober, to be calm and collected in spirit, to be temperate, dispassionate, circumspect. Right? If it says figuratively, to be discreet. Right? And if you look up the word discreet, it basically, when you go into the root, it goes back to being separate, to separate. Right? Right? Knowing when to do what. Know to separate good from evil. Knowing when to smile, when to cry. Right? Knowing when to be serious. Right? Knowing when to show the particular emotions, and know when to hold back, basically. So it can't be a solemn assembly and it did a laugh and I take everything for joke, while it can be as a chilled environment where everybody does relax and have a good time, and there you come in with all this seriousness and soap and seriousness and how you put it, solemnness in a setting like that. No, you have to know when to do it. And even when you look at, you have some brothers or everybody that have a particular thing where them need to put in check, right? So some brothers might always want to be sulky, some brothers might always want to be laughing, some brothers want to always be serious. Hey, is a time and place for everything, right? But as I say, it's not about being a tough guy. When you say dispassionate and temperate, it doesn't mean that you're a tough guy. It doesn't mean that you don't feel emotions. It's knowing when and how to express those emotions, and also knowing when to and when not to express the emotions, right? Or when to basically not let it have an influence, as the definition said earlier, right? Going to the next precept. Well, two more actually. This is Titus 2 and verse 2. Salakia. Titus 2 verse 2 says, starting at 7, it says, in all things shew thyself a pattern of good works, speaking about the men, right? In doctrine showing uncorruptness, gravity, sincerity, sound speech that cannot be condemned, that he that is of the contrary part may be ashamed, having no evil to say. Oh, Salakia. It's supposed to be 2 and 2. Right. Start verse 1. But speak though the things which become sound doctrine, that the aged men be sober, grave, temperate, sound in faith, in charity, in patient. Right? So it says the aged men should be temperate. Now let's look up this word temperate. Right? It is a derivative of the first word.
Strong's G 3524. Nephalios. Nephalios.
Right? It says looking at definition, sober, temperate, abstaining from wine either entirely or at least from its immoderate use. Right? And we and the brothers at campus breaking down that look, being sober doesn't necessarily deal with drinking alone either, right? Whenever you emotions can make you deluded, right? You can be high off emotions or it can be drunk off emotions, right? Because when you're too happy, they say that Brother Kabash was breaking down that, and there's a quote that you don't make a decision whenever you're too happy, sad, or angry, right? Because most of the time the judgment will be clouded based on the fact that you'll be doing that based off how you feel at the time, right? But you need to do it with a calm and collected mind, right? Let's also look up this word. Just a moment, Salakia Akim. Okay, let's look up the word temperate in 1 Corinthians 9 and 25 as well. It says, and every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things, right? So it's moderate in all things. So in whatever they do, they apply the right judgment, right? The right amount of whatever it is needed, right? And we all know that, hey, we're not saying that you're going to be perfect, but it's to try to to exercise this as much as possible and know that it's not about being a tough guy and just making decisions without emotions. I'm going to get a few examples from the scriptures as well. Um, Place word temperate.
Strong's G 1467. Ekratuamai. Ekratuamai.
Right, it says to be self-controlled, content, right, to exhibit self-governance, conduct oneself temperately, right? So it all goes back to what? To self-control, right? Because sometimes you're in a situation where you just feel like you need to tear somebody head off based off of the fact that, there's something that's messed up in the moment. But at the same time, you can't follow that spirit, because if you follow that, then what's going to happen? You're going to basically get yourself in problems, right? It says, go to the root, right?
Strong's G 1468. Ekrates. Ekrates.
And if you look, it says strong, robust, second definition, having power over, possessed of a thing, mastering, controlling, curbing, restraint, controlling oneself, temperate, continent, right? And that is the thing. Hey, here Apostle Gabar always said, he said, look, the biggest enemy that you're going to face in this truth is yourself, right? Because at the end of the day, self-mastery is key in this walk of faith, right? It's very, very key, right? I think I missed out something from one of the definitions. Let me go back and check this right here, Salakia. Because it's right. The root word for the first temperate, it says second definition says the mind, the faculty of perceiving and judging, and it goes down to understanding, and it goes to curb, rein, right? Fence, blocked up. So your mind should be fenced. Your mind should be blocked up, closed up, like basically fortified, having a fortified mind, right? That's what it all boils down to, right? Because we need to have a fortified mind to make it in the days to come, and you have basically you practice from now, right? With your walk in this truth, applying the scriptures as best as possible, as much as possible, right? Because in the end of the day, this is what actually teaches us to be dispassionate. This is what teaches us to be temperate, right? Now, let me get the book of Ecclesiastes 3. Ecclesiastes, where is that? Isaiah, right? Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1, it says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven, right? A time to born and a time to die, right? And as I said with the previous example that I give with the parents, right? So when when your parents in righteousness, hey, it's time to love them, right? But if it's a case that back then in the land you actually caught your parents committing idolatry, and then that was the time to actually disregard them, right? Or when you look up the word hate in when it says he that hated not mother and father, the word there is disregard, right? Or to be indifferent towards them, right? So you be indifferent when it's time for judgment, despite how you feel about them or whatever. That is the time that to be dispassionate. It says a time to weep and a time to laugh. So you're in this truth. It doesn't. Yeah, you're going to cry. You have times where things get heavy where you're going to cry, and then you also have other times where we laugh. Sometimes a time to mourn and a time to dance. You have times where you're mourning the spirit, because as you know, you're in this truth. The world are going to win most of the time. So hey, you're going to have sorrows at times, right? It says a time to gather, cast away stones, a time to gather stones, a time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. Sometimes you have to get you have to let go some people, right? You have to get rid of some people. Sometimes you have to embrace, right? A time to get and a time to lose. So you have times where you lose. You have to know when a time for as we say, let go certain things. Know when a time for take the L. That's also another big thing, right? Learning to take the L with and suppressing the emotion and don't make a demon a plague. Say, like some if somebody say them I take the L and them like can, or them say alright whatever, but them not sincerely take the L. Hey, you have to sincerely take the L at times, right? And then sometimes where it play out that you're in the right? A time to keep silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, right? So there are times for all these things. So if you thinking being dispassionate means that you don't have any emotions or you just go always be solemn and always have a straight face, then what about the scripture, right? If you do that, you're gonna destroy yourself. That's why you have to moderate. You have to know how much of one thing for apply, right? And what teaches us to be like this? The scriptures, the laws, judgments, statutes, right, and commandments. Also, you have the books of wisdom like Sirach, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Job, right? All the scriptures overall, but just to name a few, right? Now this is Deuteronomy 4 verse 5. It says, "Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahweh my power commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, Surely this is a great nation. Surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people." Why? Because everything will be done in temperance. Everything will be done in judgment, in true judgment. There will be no part. Everything when it comes to judgment, it'll be impartial, right? Even as a parent, hey, you love your child, but when them misbehave, what you do? You have to get indifferent. You have to get impartial, and you have to what? Get that radio. You start. You have to put on the whooping. And then when all of that getting taken care of, what? You and them good again, right? So it's all about balance, yo. It's definitely about balance. Really, really about balance, right? So let me get the two examples. One is from the book of Judges, where two men of the Lord had to be dispassionate, right? This is Judges 11, and we'll start at verse 30, right? And Japhet vowed a vow unto Yahweh and said, If thou without fail deliver the children of Ammon into my hands, then it shall be that whatsoever cometh forth of the doors of my house to meet me, when I return in peace from the children of Ammon, shall surely be Yahweh's, and I will offer it up for a burnt offering. Right? And going to verse 34, when you reach home, it says, and starting at verse 33 says, So Japhet passed over unto the children of Ammon to fight against them, and Yahweh delivered them into his hands, and he smote them from Arah even till thou came to Minith, even 20 cities, and unto the plain of vineyards with a very great slaughter. Thus the children of Ammon were subdued before the children of Israel. And Japhet came to Mizpeh unto his house, and behold, his daughter came out to meet him with timbrels and with dances, and she was his only child. Beside her he had neither son nor daughter. And it came to pass, when he saw her, that he rent his clothes and said, Alas, my daughter, thou hast brought me very low, and thou art one of them that trouble me. For I have opened my mouth unto Yahweh, and I cannot go back. So you can tell that he was pricked in his heart, that was his only child, right? But nonetheless, despite of how him feel, if you know the story, he actually went ahead and he offered her up to Yahweh, right? And what that was judgment, right? You can imagine, probably at the time while they offering him, he probably even there cry in the midst of all of that. But that's what it means to be dispassionate, right? Despite how you feel And also temperance, knowing how far to go, right? Not too little, not too much, right? Knowing when to and knowing when not to, despite how you feel, or despite how personal it may be, right? I'm going to give the final example, which is from our Lord and Savior Yahushua himself. Uh, this is Luke. This is Luke 22, verse 41. And he was withdrawn from them about a stone's cast, and kneeled down and prayed, saying, Father, if thou be willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but thine will be done. And there appeared an angel unto him from heaven, strengthening him. And being in an agony, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was as it were great drops of blood falling down to the ground. So even Yahushua, even Yahushua, hey, in other parts of the scripture, I tell you that he began to be exceeding sorrowful at this time, yo. So it was a very heavy task that he had to do. But guess what? He got strengthened, and despite how he felt at that time, he still went through with it. Moments away before he had to go through the trial, right? And guess what? He basically went through with it, yo, and went on the cross. Went through all the sufferings. That it's also being dispassionate, because he could have said, hey, you know what? Forget this. This is too much. I cannot bear it, or I can't manage. But he didn't do that, yo. Despite how him feel, he went through it, yo. He went through it. So, hey, as we say, being dispassionate is not about being a tough guy, and being temperate is not about being a tough guy. It's about balancing and managing your emotions, knowing when and how to apply, and also knowing how to control your emotions to do things despite how you feel about it, or despite how involved you are in it, right? Or your personal involvement. So with that, I'd like to say all praises to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the brides in the highways and byways pushing this word now, sincerity and truth. The sisters, the believers, the helps. Shalom. Now, for that song, come on, having that.